Well, it's been a long time, and one thing I can say to you is that something remains true, and that is the more true you are to you, the more successful you are in life. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Zeb, life design strategist and your everyday life coach. Of course, I give you tools that will help you transform tomorrow today. It's been a long time, YouTube, since we've been here, but I'm excited to be back as promised. You've been following me over the last, 6, 9, 10 months now. I've been very active on other social media networks, but I've always promised that I would begin to return back here with some content that's a little bit longer, more podcast style. To give those of you that really enjoy this information, that are really on a real healing journey and opportunity to engage in this space and get all of the information and the assistance that you need. And so I'm just honored to be here. I want to thank all of you that have subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Of course, I want you to hit that subscribe button so we can show up in the algorithm and really shake the waves in YouTube as we talk about healing and the impact of healing on our personal development journey. So today, let's talk about this whole authenticity thing. And I figured coming back today, I would really use this opportunity to maybe explain some things that many of you have had questions about. And I think it's going to be fun today. So let's talk about this, because at the end of the day, one of the things that I know to be true since we've last talked, that I know to be even more true today, is that you are not going to win if you are not authentic. Authenticity really is the key to winning. And so many people in today's culture, we just pay attention to what's happening on social media. People are literally duplicating or attempting to duplicate the success of other people and then wonder why they struggle in certain areas or in the areas of their lives in which they're trying to create success. And we have to be very mindful of the version of us that we've been created to be. The reality is, out of all the billions of people in the world, there's only one you. And I have always used this idea or concept to ground my work. People ask me a lot, Doc, how did you come up with the 5 areas of healing? Well, it was really about a journey that I went on in my personal life and created it about 5 years ago while I was out of the country. I live in America, but I was out of the country, and really asked myself as I was going on this healing journey, what are the 5 areas that I really think I need to improve on in order to become the best version of me post some serious life challenges that had come my way. Thus, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial was born. And I believe this, that in today's culture, regardless of where you live, regardless of what you do, and regardless of where you come from, what I know to be true in today's culture is that people want authenticity and they want the truth more than they want anything else. This is a culture and time where the truth, people are hungry, more hungry for the truth than they ever have been before. And I think we do ourselves a disservice when we show up in spaces and we're not being truthful to who we are. And so I talk a lot about honesty and truthfulness, authenticity, and ground a lot of that in my work, because it is really instrumental in helping people to get from where they are to where they intend to be with their lives. And it takes authenticity, and it takes another word, and that word is called self-awareness. And I want to talk a little bit about this quickly before I really explain some other things as well. Self-awareness can be defined as honesty about who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. Self-awareness is honesty about who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. So anytime we are attempting to solve any problem in our lives, we have to be honest about who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. When I created that definition, I created it with this one point in mind, and that is, We cannot anticipate seeing real change in our lives until we are honest about all three of those areas of our lives. We have to be honest about where we are. If we evaluate our lives right now and do an honest evaluation of the things that are happening in our lives and really pay attention, it will give us clear proof of the things that we need to work on, the things that we need to improve. I'm always amazed in this space. I'm blessed now, as of this video, to have just over 960 clients in 29 countries. And I'll tell you, I'm always shocked that from time to time I meet people who receive feedback from me that they claim they've never heard before. And it's shocking on one end, but on the other end, it's actually kind of not surprising. In this entitled time that we live in, this entitled generation where everybody's being called a winner, nobody is being told you can do better. Nobody's being challenged to do better. And in fact, we oftentimes coddle people in their poor performance versus providing them honest feedback. I've discovered that this is a time, this is a culture that we live in where people just haven't heard the truth about themselves. And so what makes my work so unique in this counseling, in this coaching space, is that, yes, I know the terms and all of that stuff, but I spend so much time telling people the truth about their lives. And it is empowering, it is life-changing to see people hear these truths, be challenged by these truths, and then be empowered to do something different. And I think this is really a testament, in fact, if I'm being honest, to how I was raised. I shared this on my story on Patreon and in IG Subscribe. You can certainly check out the links in my bio if you want to check that out and be a subscriber. Would love to have you. I talked a little bit about my upbringing and how I was raised. And my father was so many different things in my life. More than just a father. He was a coach, a teacher, a pastor, all of these things. And, we laugh about it now, but he and my mother really instilled in us this real solid principle of honesty and being very honest and sincere with yourself about who you are, where you are, what you're doing. All right. And so this was helpful for me. It really laid a foundation. I brag and tell my clients, I don't mind telling you the truth about you because I've been raised hearing the truth about me all of my entire life. And while sometimes as a child, those things are hard to hear, as an adult, I realized those things were foundational in helping me to become who I am today. Listen, we have to be honest about who we are. Right now, in this moment, if you want to see transformation in your life, you've got to take the rose-colored glasses off, and you have to learn how to be honest about where you are, and you need to surround yourself with people who support that honesty. Sure, it's great to have friends who tell you you look nice. It's great to have friends who tell you you're successful. It's great to have friends that tell you that you're wonderful. But all of us need to have people in our circles who actually tell us, yeah, the dress, the suit, the whatever doesn't look nice. Yeah, you did well, but you could adjust this, and this to become a better version of you. And I think this is what grounds this work and the work that I do in a very unique way. Again, yes, know the terms, all of that stuff, the concepts, but people are hungry for the truth because it is, in fact, the truth that sets us free. And so we have to be honest about who we are. We have to be honest about where we are. We have to be honest about where we are at any given point in our lives, at any given phase in our lives. And people struggle really with moving forward into the future because they're not honest about where they are in the present. And we have to be very honest about that. Again, being honest about where you are is not an indictment against your past per se, but it is an honest recognition of not only where you are, but the work that needs to happen where you are so that you can become what you need to become. And so when I start with new clients, they're always shocked because the first session, They do most of the talking, and I get a lot of just background information about what they've got, going on, what challenges they have, and I allow them to talk about those challenges. But then when they're done, we start with where they are. Yes, we get into the past, but we start with where they are, because that allows me to say, okay, based on where you've been and based on where you are, here are some problem spots that we need to tackle right away. And sometimes that's a very difficult conversation. Why? Because most people have never had people just be honest with them about where they are and what they have going on and the challenges that they're presently living in, that if they don't adjust, will impact where they're going. And so those conversations yield a lot of tears. Sometimes when people are told where they are, it is literally like taking a mirror and holding it up against their face, and it's not comfortable. You can see all the bumps and blemishes in your skin, but those things are necessary in helping you to become the best version of you. And so being honest about where we are is important. And then thirdly, being honest about what we're doing. And this is big, because in this personal development space, again, this counseling, coaching, therapy space, one clear, I think, challenge that I've noticed over the years is that a lot of people who work on this side really struggle with telling people what they're doing and bringing to surface not only the actions and the behaviors of people, but the consequences of not changing those actions and behaviors. I tell my clients, I tell people all around the world that want to work with me, great, I'm glad you enjoy the information, the content. It's an honor to be able to serve so many people and to have the impact that I have so far. But I tell them, do not invest in working with me if you're not prepared to hear the truth about your actions and your behaviors. So many of us have been conditioned in this therapy counseling space with this notion, this idea of laying back on a couch, hands behind your head, some of you with a cigar in your hand, and this notion that the therapist, the counselor, the coach sits on the other side, lets you just say what you want to say, how you feel, all of those things. You get up from that couch, you go on about your life with no solutions, and really, frankly, no real honest feedback. The reality is none of that changes you. Sure, it's great to discuss the past. It's great to understand where we've come from so we have an idea of where we're going. But the reality is many people are missing in that space pure honesty about their actions and their behaviors. And so if you want to grow, part of self-awareness is not only being honest about who you are, where you are, but it's also being honest about your actions and your behaviors. And when we are honest about our actions and behaviors, past and present, we can be clear about the adjustments that need to happen in order for us to become the best future version of ourselves that we can be. So people are struggling with the version of who they are because, number one, they're not honest about the version of them that they've been. And if you're not honest about the version of you that you've been, you're not going to see results when it comes to where you are going. And so self-awareness, that's a definition. You should have a journal. I forgot to say that even at the beginning of the video. All of these videos, get your journal. I have folks that have never worked with me on a one-to-one basis who have attempted to get on my books for some time. My books fill really quickly, but they reach out to me and say, Doc, I've got journals filled with information based on the content that you share on your talks, on your lives. And so certainly as you tune into this channel, get your journal so that you can use that journal to really be honest about who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. Because without that, I tell clients, if I cannot be honest with you, or you rather cannot be honest with me about who you are, where you are, and what you're doing, I can't help you. Not only can I not help you, I'm not interested in helping you, because it is the truth that brings us back to reality and causes us to become the best version of us. And so my life has been grounded in that. When your father is not only your pastor, but he was also your 9th grade honors geography teacher, and you made 90 B's on tests, but still was grounded because you should have made an A, and he knew you could do better, and you knew you could do better. growing up with that type of awareness around you and that environment of honesty really challenged me to take that approach in my work. And that's why my approach is a little bit different. That's why my advice and counsel for people is so straightforward. It is so razor sharp to some people. Some people think it's razor sharp. I actually think it's light. I tell people the version, the edited version you hear doesn't compare to what happens in the real call. Trust me, it's not even close. But it is that straightforwardness that really was planted as a seed by my parents, who taught us the importance of being honest about who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. And so I say all of that to say, if you're going to win, you've got to build a foundation of honesty. You can't be fake, because when people show up and they're not honest about who they are, where they are, what they're doing, and they're attempting to accomplish all of these things in their lives, but they're not honest about who they are, where they are, what they're doing, they're living fake lives. We're living fake lives when we don't show up in spaces with that honesty. And I'm going to tell you, you can find you a therapist, counselor, coach anywhere that will allow you to operate and function that way. And I promise you, you're going to lose your money and you will not see results. You need someone that's going to empower you and challenge you to be honest with you about you so that your life can change and you can live an authentic life. This life, if we're going to live it effectively, is really all about being authentic. I get this question a lot. I'll end with this. Doc, what's up with the hat? What's up with the hat? You know, and people really, I can't say enough. You all that support me have been so kind to me and my content and the things that I share. But there's a story behind the hat. I've shared it with subscribers. And so I want to share it today. My church really was good at outreach. We really set the bar in our city for outreach. Our church only had maybe about 300 members at the most. And we ended up feeding and clothing over 20,000 people in less than 6 years. And this was without any millionaires in the congregation. This was without, any what we would call ballers or people that just had a lot of money. It was without any of those things. It was without loans, grants, all of those things. We simply took tithes and offering that people would give, and we would turn around and give it away. People that went to this same church can tell you that it would be nothing for the service to end. And when the service is over, we would take the bucket and literally walk outside, walk down the street, and pass out money from the bucket. It was a very innovative space for reminding the world of the importance and the significance of church. And so we did outreach really well, but we had a lady in our church who was an older lady, would make knitted items for people who lived in nursing homes. She would make knitted hats, knitted gloves, knitted scarves, things like that. And she came to me one day and she said, hey, she said, Dr. Zeb, she said, would you mind if some days when we do giveaways, like we're not just giving away food, but we're also giving away clothes, would you mind some days if we gave away some hats and gloves specifically to the homeless? And we fed and clothed the homeless, but we also fed and clothed the entire city. We just did. But we would do events specifically where we would target the homeless. And this was during a period of time where it was really cool in North Carolina. And so I said, that's great. That's a great idea. And so she literally, at our next giveaway, which happened to be about 3 or 4 weeks later, because we typically did about one a month, she showed up at the next giveaway with trash bags, clear trash bags, full of knitted hats, gloves, and gave them to us and said, you guys give these out. And I looked at them and I said, wow, these are really nice. Not Dr. Zeb still in the hats. These are really nice. I said to her, I said, can I have a few of these? She said, of course you can, Dr. Zeb. And she pulled some out and whipped out a plastic bag and pulled out about 12 or 13 of them and some gloves. and put them in a plastic bag and say, here you go. And I took them. And so when I started doing this content, I remember people criticizing me. The first video that I had go viral on another network, it was TikTok. I was sitting in a car and I just pressed play or record rather on my phone. And I sat there and I gave a summary of a client story that a client agreed or allowed me to share, and didn't think anything of it. Didn't add any captions to it. Just pressed in, trim the beginning, trim the end, uploaded it, put, what the video was about and some hashtags, press post, let it post, went back in my office, was working in higher ed at the time and didn't think anything of it. And this was around 1 or 2 in the day. And I remember getting off at about 6 that day and my phone hadn't rang for hours or beeped for hours. And so, I'm used to having a dry phone, but I just thought that was odd. I didn't hear anything. And so when I looked at my phone, maybe around 5-ish, I noticed my phone was dead. I didn't have a charger that day, so no big deal. Get in the car, and when I plugged in my phone was going nuts. Nuts, just ding, 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 ding. And I remember when that video went viral, it wasn't the first time I shared a 10-minute video story about a client. But it was the first time where I made up in my mind, you know what? I don't really care about how people respond to my content. I'm going to be true to who I am. And you can just go back and look at the history. Folks would say, yeah, Doc, this is great information, but who's going to watch a 10-minute video? Or, Doc, a wonderful analogy. You're really good at that, but who's going to listen to a 10-minute analogy? Like, speed it up. Like, can you cut it down to 3 minutes? Maybe more people will watch. And this was at a time where I probably averaged, 200-300 views a video, maybe 3 to 5 likes a video. And I remember this specific day because it wasn't the first time I posted a long video. I was doing the 5 things I learned last week videos. I was doing the Wednesday word of the day videos. These videos didn't have a lot of traction. I wasn't really known at the time from a social media standpoint. But I just knew that I had a unique gift of taking real life situations, putting analogies on those situations to make complicated topics make sense. I knew I had that gift. I believed in that gift, and I refused to let the commentary sway me. And this was a day where I was just really frustrated, just wondering about, really frustrated about some things with my career at that time. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to continue to do what I do, and I'm just going to stay true to it, and I'm going to do it. And that day, didn't have a hat on or anything, just my bald head, glasses, recorded that video, phone goes dead. I plug up the phone, my phone's going nuts, video goes viral. And I remember when that video went viral, people were remarking about how powerful the message was and how awesome the message was. But the gag was the messages were always awesome. The problem wasn't in the awesomeness of the message. The problem was that I had almost got to a place where I became frustrated that my authenticity wasn't working. And I want to say this to all of you. Authenticity always works for you. It's not about how fast you're moving. It's just about making sure you keep moving. And I knew I had a special gift of making the complicated make sense, of taking very complex topics like trauma and your favorite words, trauma, narcissist, manipulator, gaslight, which I can't stand the words because people misuse them and really don't have a clear, full understanding of what they are. But taking all of those concepts and terms, placing analogies on people's life situations to help them understand complex issues to resolve complex problems in their lives. I knew I had that gift. This video goes viral and it was really a reminder, hey, Doc, Zeb, stay true to who you are. And at that moment, I remembered the lady from the church who had made these hats. She made them. We started giving them away. And so I got home that day and I went in my closet and I pulled the bag down. I would wear them every now and then. My close friends can tell you they would see me occasionally wear them out, if it was cold outside or whatever, but I didn't wear them as much as I do now. And I said, you know what? This hat is really a reminder of my purpose, because when we were feeding and ended up feeding over 20,000 people in less than 6 years. We did some very unconventional things, like reaching in buckets where people gave money, taking that money, going to the street and literally passing it out. Very unconventional. Very unconventional in how we gave away food and clothes and the specific types of drives that we did. I've always had a very unique approach to life and serving people. And so I said at that moment, you know what? This hat's going to be a reminder of my purpose, that every time I put it on and every time I record content with it, it's going to be a reminder of what I've been called to do. Doc, what have you been called to do? It's simple. In my humble opinion, I believe I've been called to heal the world. I believe I've been called to help a world that is filled with pain and challenges to find healing and hope. My followers, a lot of my clients call me the Bishop of Health and Wellness. I fully embrace that title, as I laugh when they say it. Why? Because pain is the universal language of humanity. There's one thing that we all agree on, that we all feel the same, and that's pain. When we hurt, when one person hurts, everybody can hurt the same exact way. But not only is pain a universal language, healing is a universal language. And I believe that healing is the universal language of humanity. And so I made a decision that day when that video went viral. I'm going to start recording my videos in my hat. I'm going to start doing my client calls in my hat. Not to be some show off, but as a reminder, Doc, stay true to who you are. In a world filled with counterfeits where people are doing whatever they can to be viral, to be seen, there's real value in being authentic and being true to who you are. Because when you're authentic, the last thing that people can call you is fake. And so that's the story of the hat. And I wear this hat, and so many of you have been complimentary of the hat. I'm hoping to have the hat available on my store really soon, where you can purchase one of these. I've been so kind to have people from around the world literally mail me hats that they've handmade. It's just an awesome thing and a reminder that there's great value and effectiveness in being you. Look at me. I go from being relatively unknown and having 11, 12 clients part-time just about a year ago to now having over 960 clients in 29 countries. Not because I'm God's greatest gift. I think I am great at what I do, but because I chose authenticity as the path. And when you choose authenticity as the path, yeah, you might be misunderstood. Yeah, people might make jokes about your work and might say, hey, this isn't a great idea. This isn't gonna pan out. What are you thinking? The videos are too long. That business idea will never materialize. That career plan and path that you have will never work out. But if you just learn how to stick to what you've authentically been called to be and do, then I promise you all of the fruit and all of the prosperity that you're looking for is going to follow, not because you're perfect, but because you chose to be true to who you are. Listen, y'all, I hope this made sense. If it did, I want you to type church in the comments with 3 R's. And then I want you to remember you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you.